To my colleagues, I want to thank you all for the trust that you have instilled in me to lead us in this historic and unprecedented moment that we're in.
Finally, after 3 weeks of behind-the-scenes battles, the House has a new leader, and it is Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson. Republicans celebrating on the House floor this afternoon, 22 days after his predecessor, Kevin McCarthy, was voted out. And while it took McCarthy 15 rounds of votes to ultimately win the speakership in January, Johnson won in just one round. But some say it's because Republicans are exhausted from this process, and others believe Johnson is the best man for the job.
I promised the Republican Party that at the end of this process, we would upgrade the position of Speaker of the House, that we would end with someone who is more conservative and who is more honest. Mike Johnson fulfills that commitment.
He's going to make us all proud.
Well, Johnson starts his new role with a busy agenda ahead. Urgency to pass funding to support Israel at war, while also staring down a November 17th government funding deadline. And for more reaction on how this unprecedented voting process unfolded, we turn to Tia Ewing in Studio 32.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Congressman Mike Johnson, that's not a name that is widely known, and Johnson was the party's 4th nominee for Speaker in just 3 weeks. And here to talk more about this is Professor Stephen Caliendo from North Central College. Professor, it's always great to have you here on First at 4 breaking it down. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Tia.
Let's get right into it. So no one had heard of the congressman from Louisiana really until the last few days, today and yesterday. How did Johnson get the nomination for House Speaker in the first place?
Yeah, the search engines were certainly running hot this afternoon, I think, when this was announced. If I gave you a piece of paper, you're as knowledgeable, Tia, about American government as anybody. And if I gave you a piece of paper and said, start to write down Republican members of Congress, I think we would have gone a long ways before you ended up getting to Mike Johnson. But you just heard Representative Gates, who kind of has been the spearhead of all the controversy or all the disagreements in Washington over the last month on this speaker question, and even before that, really dating back to January.
Professor, I don't know if we can still hear you. Hopefully we still have you there, but here's a follow-up question to what you were just talking about, because this is grabbing headlines in light of Johnson now being the House Speaker. We know in 2020 he voted to decertify the election where Biden won against Trump. How important is that going forward, especially with Trump vying to be president again?
It's really important for a lot of Americans. It's really important for a lot of Republicans. You remember that when Jim Jordan was the only one left, who after they had the closed door meetings, many members who were going to vote against him said the reason they were was because he wouldn't come out publicly and say that President Biden won the 2020 election. My understanding, and from the reporting I've seen, is that Speaker Johnson has been asked at least twice by reporters in the last couple of days about this, and he's ignored those questions. So what we need to learn is, are those Republicans, did they hold fast to that rule or that expectation, or did they collapse on it because it's really important to get the government running again?
We're actually showing video of Tom Emmer right now. We do know that he wanted to become House Speaker. He reportedly called Donald Trump to clear the air because Emmer did certify Biden to be president. And then Trump went on Truth Social and slammed Emmer. Are there signs here that though Trump is out of office, that he still has a hand in how D.C. politics go?
There's no question about it. And when I visited with Scott yesterday, I said the same thing. Look, he's puppeteering, but it's not even a behind-the-scenes puppeteering. He's doing it out in the open. There are members who are very afraid to cross Donald Trump because of the sway that he holds, not just with people in Washington, but with folks across the country. There are folks who are in districts that worry about getting primaried if they, Republicans I'm talking about, if they cross President Trump. And certainly Tom Emmer found out what that looks like in the last 48 hours.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll be all watching to see how this presidential race pans out in terms of Donald Trump. Professor Stephen Caliendo, it's always a pleasure to have you here on First at 4. Thanks for being with us.
I appreciate you.